It's a pleasure to talk to you about this film. Obviously, we're discovering that Peter Rabbit is quite a universal kind of format because everybody seems to know loads about it. So how much was it part of your childhood?
Oh, a lot. I mean, my parents read me the books when I was a kid. I always grew up knowing Peter Rabbit, loving Peter Rabbit, but then I really got into it again when I read them to my kids. And then I really understood what an amazing character Peter was and how beautiful the artwork was and how just cool Beatrix Potter was. So that's when I kind of fell in love with it again.
It's not like me to talk about technology a lot, but I think in this one, the narrative that technology has allowed you to make and making them so real is very important to mention. So tell us about how it helped you construct the story, like we've never seen it before on a big screen.
The amazing thing about the effects from Animal Logic is that I really wanted them to feel like they're real animals.
Yeah,
and
they do.
They do, and when they're not speaking, when they're just in the background, they look not like this thing. I don't know what this is, but they feel like real animals, and yet they have human emotions sometimes. So what that allowed us to do is make make as many changes as we possibly could make, and the fun thing was that the possibilities were endless, but the bad thing was that the possibilities were endless. So if the movie was not coming out for another 2 months, I'm sure I'd still be working on it. So technology is in some ways limitless, but in other ways it's limiting.
Was it a bit like filming 2 movies because you filmed the actors and then you animated?
Yes, it was 2 movies. We shot the first movie, a full movie, and then last year basically making another movie with different voices and constantly changing it and putting the animals in and then having to rechange the live action portion. So it was a kind of a constant dance back and forth, and I'm sure I drove the animators crazy with the constant changes, but it's amazing what they can do, and once I realized what they can do, it kind of,
Absolutely. You're like,
yeah.
Can't you do this?
Exactly.
Can't you just throw them in the sky? And then it takes them like a year to do it.
Right.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, kudos for using great music for the narrative. I was particularly pleased of the nuance of using Il Trovatore, the Citadel, when they were building a fortress. When were those choices made and who made them?
So I made them with my music supervisor, Wendy Crowley, and a lot of those were made before the movie was started because it had to interact with it.
Yes, it's part of the narrative.
Part of the narrative. But again, because the birds sing those songs, I think I changed those songs like 5 or 6 times, so much so that they finally said to me, the animators, that you can change the songs as much as you want from now on, but they're not. The lips are going to move the same way. So. The music was really important to this movie, and especially the last song, which was written by Ezra Koenig of Vampire Weekend, to kind of bring the whole thing together.
Yeah, no, that was part of the enjoyment for me.
Yeah.
I really love that. Does name dropping Peter Rabbit allow you to have such a stellar cast and voice cast? Was that enough?
Almost everyone in the cast was very into Peter Rabbit as a kid growing up, and it was very easy to get Daisy and Margot and Elizabeth and James, who Peter Rabbit meant so much to them. And it really was, when people say it was a labor of love, I think it really was, not because they weren't paid. They were paid quite handsomely. It was because they loved the fact that they were doing something from their childhood. And that made everything so much more easier, and everyone was much more available, and it never felt like work to anyone, I think, which was fun.
When was the first time and satisfaction to see it with a very young audience? I say that because I can't wait for my little daughter to grow up and be able to see them, humping all over.
I actually saw this movie in a real theater with like last week with paying audience. I took my kids with the paying audience. The first time I saw it with an actual paying audience, and that was a completely different experience.
Yeah, it's quite telling.
Yes, because the kids were going bananas, but then the adults who early on in the movie, you could just see them kind of, oh my God, I got to sit through this movie with my kids. About the 3rd or 4th minute, they kind of sit up in their chair and they realize, oh, wow, that's a much smarter adult joke. I didn't realize, and they get much more engaged. So there's a kind of time you look at the audience, like halfway through, that the adults and kids are equally engaged in the movie, which I thought it was really fun to watch that.
That's a very interesting point. I mean, obviously, this is not completely an animated film, but animation movies now are so popular and so huge that they have to cater to all audiences.
Yeah.
It can't only be for younger ones. Do you bear that in mind?
Yeah, I mean, we never wanted to make a movie that was just for kids. Whenever we had a mantra at the movie that if someone said, that'll make the kids laugh, I said, well, we're not putting it in because we have to make everybody laugh or make everyone smile or have emotion. I think we always talk down to kids and we give kids short shrift, thinking that they're kind of dopier than they really are. And I think most of the times it's the parents that are the dopes.
True, absolutely. How much did you allow the actors to have fun? I'm thinking of Margot's character and how much her voice is nuanced. How much did you play with that, and how much did they enjoy it?
Well, you have to ask them if they'd enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But we play with them a lot, and we spent a lot of time changing it and structuring the characters to them. We had many, many sessions with James. And the beauty of this technology now is that I would often text the actors and say, please say this line into your iPhone, and they would send it back, and we'd animate it to that. So if you actually add it all up, they spent a lot of time on this movie.
Yes, well, that's what they all said, but they had a good time. So
good.
A lot of time is good. I asked everybody the same question, and obviously it's one of the themes in the film. Country mouse or
city mouse?
City mouse.
City
rat, I should say.
Yeah, city rat. I would say city mouse with nice forays to the country.
Yes, that's true.
Yep.
You should come and live in England.
Yes, exactly.
Just go there for a... And how much would you love the legacy to continue? You know, should the movie be internationally as successful as it's been in America and demanded to do more? Where would you like to see him go?
We've talked about that. I think that I wouldn't be surprised if the next movie had something to do with these three little girls on the top. See what happens to them. Yep.
It's all about the bunny girls anyway
it's all
these
about
days.
The girls. That's right.
And hopefully they'll all come back and they can all have a premiere together, because apparently they were a bit spread out, so they never got to spend a lot of time as a cast.
Yeah,
together.
I think in LA was the most time they spent together. Yeah.